Okay, and my least favorite E3 conference. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Sony, how disappointing. When it comes to core gaming, it's always been between Sony and Microsoft to push content and get that competition going. Get the flames going. One side and one side equals friction equals fire. Come on now. Sony did not bring their A game. I'm sorry to say. Yes, I'm about to show you some awesome looking games, but the truth is, most of these games have already been shown like a year ago. I hate when they show the same games 2 or 3 years in a row. That's completely unnecessary, completely stupid. The only reason why corporations do that is because, yeah, I know these games take a long time to program for and develop, but come on, you're only announcing them years in advance just to keep your stock prices high. Don't bullshit me. I know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, it's mainly the same shit that we saw last year, which was utterly disappointing in my opinion. Yes, I'm sure that these are quality games and they'll be worth the wait, but come on, that just tells me you didn't have enough content, and that's the main point that I'm trying to make about this conference. There was not enough content. They did not show as a good enough number of exclusives that are fresh, and they just did not have the same number of indie titles that Microsoft showed, which is a major disappointment. This conference wasn't bad. It was just severely disappointing, and I thought it just didn't lack. It lacked the energy and it lacked the focus of Microsoft for a few key points. Mainly because once again they are relying on the same titles like God of War, okay, and they started the conference with what? Uncharted. Okay, it looks good. Don't get me wrong, but it's essentially I don't even know if they announced was it a DLC to Uncharted? I'm pretty sure it was a DLC, but I think they might be marketing it as its own little small game. But I definitely don't think it's a full game, which is confusing. But yeah, this conference, wow, sort of lacking. So, but let's start off with the bright spots. Okay, Uncharted. What can I say? It's Uncharted. I'm gonna get it, but it's still. It probably won't be a significant as an addition as Uncharted 4. It might be like a half a game maybe, but it does look interesting. I love that Chloe's back, but I don't love the other character, that female woman who's like a mercenary. They didn't give her any fucking attention in the other game, and I really don't care for her. I mean, they gave her so much attention that by the end of the game, she literally walked out. That's how much importance that she contributed to that game. And it looks like they might be expanding on it because, I don't know, they wanted that girl-on-girl dynamic. But it looks solid. So, whatever, it's Uncharted. It might be fun. Another title that Sony's been, that has already released footage for, that they teased last year, was Detroit Become Human, and this is basically Quantic Dream's next game, by director Luke Cage, or Cage Lucas, something like that. Mr. Cage, I'm sorry if I forget your name, but basically these are the same people who created Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain. Great games in my opinion. They really push things forward in terms of storytelling. Think of them as sort of Telltale's games, but with a pretty significantly more realistic art style. This game is about androids that are feeling more human than normal, and of course it's going to lead to this huge revolution. I'm guessing it looks very interesting. It looks like it's dealing with some interesting concepts. Thank Deus Ex if it were more quick times, and I hate to use that word quick times. I believe that there are developers out there that legitimately use them well, like the God of War games and of course Telltale games. This looks very interesting and the most unique and promising, I think, but again, we've already seen it last year. Stop it, Sony. And of course, another addition to another game that came out just a few months ago, Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, I like the game, alright? It didn't blow my socks off like I was expecting it to, but it was a pretty good game with a unique concept and some pretty good mechanics. This is DLC to that. It takes place in a completely different region. I'm guessing more ice dinosaurs, more story, But again, it is just DLC to a game that already came out. We're still riding off the hype of that game, you know, and its visuals. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be good DLC. But again, you see how we're getting into familiar territory again. And of course, another example of another useless remake and old content, Shadow of the Colossus. Okay, now this has got to be one of the greatest games I've ever played on any system. Even though the graphics are dated, Shadow of the Colossus will go down as a timeless classic, PlayStation exclusive. Now, I know I've given a lot of shit to, you know, re-released content and, you know, being held up by the familiar games, but I'll barely let this one slide, since it is, like I said, this game is a timeless classic and I want as many people to experience it as possible. This game is the definition of adventurous. This is one of those titles that you can look at and go, yeah, you can only get that experience in video games. Truly one of the greatest games of all time, and I will barely give it a pass in terms of Sony using it, re-releasing old content. So you just got me. Zombie. This whole generation is filled with zombies that play zombie video games. I'm sorry to you zombie fans out there, but it's a zombie game. My main complaint about this game is it looks exactly like The Last of Us. It looks like they've been sharing assets. This game does not look new. I give shit to the Assassin's Creed games and Ubisoft in general and Activision with the Call of Duty all the time about this. This game looks like straight up asset sharing between, you know, first party developers. This looks like they took everything from The Last of Us and said, maybe we could just rip these gameplay mechanics and make it open world and sell it as a new franchise. It sounds very Ubisoft, actually. Ghost Recon Wildlands. Division. But yeah, this is just another zombie game, guys, with The Last of Us mechanics. I mean, I'm not complaining. Well, I am complaining, but you can understand how this looks like a copy and paste job. Look at this and look at the gameplay from The Last of Us. I mean, honestly, come on, people. This is a copy and paste job. Obviously, it's got good development behind it. It looks like a quality game, but you cannot deny that this is copy and paste at its finest. It looks like an okay game, but at the end of the day, it's a fucking zombie game. I'm sorry. One of these so-called highlights, this is the kicker to the show. This is what ended the show. This was supposed to be the showstopper title. I really don't know why it looks like every other Spider-Man game, but this is Spider-Man on PS4. This is one of our exclusive titles, and honestly, I couldn't tell you why this game looks special. It looks like they're trying to Arkham City Spider-Man. They're trying to get it to that level of, fame, I guess, or, I don't know, popularity. But this just looks like every other Spider-Man game in my mind. I haven't played that many. I haven't even played Spider-Man since PlayStation 2. So I could not tell you how significantly more improved this looks. But everything in this game looks smooth. You can see how Spider-Man grapples from, pillar or beam to beam. It looks very Arkham City-ish, which I don't mind. You take the best ideas. But I think superhero fans and Spider-Man fans will be a little bit more hyped for this game than I am. We'll see, but for now, it looks pretty good. It looks good quality. It looks like a true exclusive in terms of quality, actually. The one thing that concerns me is the quick time events. Now, I hate when general action games that are done in real time use quick time events, but it has worked before, a la, storytelling games like Telltale, of course, and, God of War. I keep hearing that one. And they are absolutely right, as long as it feels natural and it doesn't fuck you up with, instant deaths or anything like that. But I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Another bright spot in the show would be Monster Hunter World. Now, Monster Hunter is a game. It's a name usually associated with the Nintendo games, Nintendo systems. I've played just a tad of Monster Hunter. It's a very Japanese game, and Japanese games can be an acquired taste. but they, they've lasted this long, and I'm pretty sure they are fun. This game is open world, of course. It's got a realistic graphical style. The fighting with the dinosaurs, it reminds me a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn, mounting creatures and whatnot. I guess that's the norm these days. You see a monster in an open world, you just gotta ride it, but it looks very fun, it looks very refreshing. It's one of the surprising bits of the show. Speaking of Activision, is it just me, or did Destiny not get any fucking gameplay this E3? Like, the hype is already dead. Like, they got maybe 5 minutes of on-stage gameplay. I'm pretty sure there's interviews with more gameplay, but as for, in your face and on-stage present to get you hyped up, this game is non-existent. I mean, I'm sure there's fans that are fans of the original game that chose to cut out content and hype the shit up like it's the second coming, and consequentially cut out entire portions of gameplay and sell it to you at a high fucking price. There are so many things wrong with that game. In my mind, it is the culmination of bullshit in video games. It is as slimy as you can get when it comes to modern gaming that concerns digital content and how it's distributed in the most maniacal, evil way possible. And this is the pinnacle of Activision. They are neck and neck evil with EA. And I want to root for Destiny just as a general game, just a game that brings people together, but it's the way Activision handles themselves around money. I just cannot stand it. And I don't even want to buy. I will buy the new Destiny, but I will try my very hardest to make sure it is a used copy. I'll go on Craigslist if I have to, but I'm not giving those bastards my money. And truthfully, you shouldn't either. Just think, was all that money for the original Destiny worth it? No. Well, maybe they should be penalized by me voting with my wallet and choosing not to get this bullshit. Anyway, okay, trying to sell me Call of Duty or Destiny is one thing, but VR is on a whole nother level. This is the lowest of the low for this conference. I'm sorry, it is a gimmick. Remember a few years ago when Sony was pushing so hard for 3D Sony TVs? 3D TVs and all that bullshit. And the move, Sony also falls down that pit trap of going with the group. Oh, the competition's doing it, so we also have to cram down this crap, this unconventional, trendy ass technology that you do not need to enjoy games. I'm telling you, did you play the original Modern Warfare and say, oh, you know what I need? I need something on my fucking head to make this feel like the best thing ever. Did you feel that way when you were playing BioShock 10 years ago? Did you feel that way when you were playing Metal Gear Solid 20 years ago? Or the original Mario 25 years ago or some shit? No. Who the hell asked for this? All this shit looks gimmicky. I'm sorry, but these are inferior titles. The first-person games, yeah, they're immersive. But moving your neck around in omnidirectionally or snapping your neck around 360 degrees, and your character's head is just bobbing up and down, and it's nowhere near as smooth as it looks when you actually put it on. It's just unnecessary. The first-person games, you can't even move. Every single game has to have you teleporting around the room, and it's just immersion, and that breaks the immersion, honestly. It's good in some cases like horror games, but even then, man, this technology is just like the Kinect. It is gimmicky. Take a look at Final Fantasy VR game right here. Have you seen anything more ridiculous in your life? This is a slap in the face. Look at this shit. Look at it. It's fucking... This is the most insulting thing. Does this look fun? Does this look like it pushes the boundaries of video games? This is a full step backwards. Look at this shit. And I don't think the consumers are buying it. It still needs that killer app. Sony has the resources to make the killer app, but I haven't seen the killer app yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but VR is just not where it needs to be. I just really don't think gaming needed it 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. You know, you didn't need this shit when you were playing Final Fantasy VII. I'm just saying. Gaming is more than VR, and I think VR is actually a step backwards, especially considering its price and its usability and its, you know, interconnectivity with the games that we have and the concepts that we've come so far in terms of gaming. And I just don't think VR is where it needs to be right now, even though it looks like they got a decent lineup for VR users. I don't mean to offend VR users. I'm just saying we've enjoyed video games for so long without this technology, and I think this is a real step backwards. I'm sorry. My opinion. All in all, closing out, guys, I think that VR, it's a mistake. Honestly, I mean, moving your head left and right does not make the immersion better. I think it just breaks the immersion, contrary to popular belief. I think those resources could have been used for more indie support, more original first-party titles. Like I said, they stayed very safe, and that was the most disappointing thing. Uncharted, Horizon already showing off DLC for that. God of War, and they focused on had a little bit more time for Call of Duty and Destiny, which is, you know, those are just okay games, you know, below standard in my opinion for what they were. And I really think there could have been a more streamlined focus on games. I mean this was a good showing, but compared to the energy and like the just the fluidness of Microsoft's conference, this was a little bit underwhelming. So, you know, not a bad showing, but, you know, I hope they do better to get us more hyped up with more original titles next year. And this is coming from a Sony fanboy too, so don't talk shit to me. Good showing, but not great. Very underwhelming. So I'll have my EA videos up. I'll have my Bethesda videos up. We still got a lot more games to cover this E3, and you know, it'll take some time, but we'll get them all. We got a lot more content in terms of overall games coming for the next year, and I'll get those out as soon as I can. This is Heretic, signing off.